So here it is. I think we could see a market crash, similar to what we saw in March, where the S&P 500 could fall 30% by the end of this year. I know. Let that sink in for a second. That's the bad news. The good news is it could be avoided. It could be avoided. I mean, this is not some crazy pandemic, black swan event. It's going to cause it. Our economists, our politicians, they have all the data in front of them where they can take the measures to stop this right now. And by stop, I mean contain the damage to where we will see a pullback this year. To maybe 10%, 12%. I mean, you look at that, the Russell's pulled off, 6% now off its highs. I mean, again, it's rent considerably higher, amazing higher. But we can contain the damage if we work now. So I know what you're asking. What's the cause? Why is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? I think it could happen this year. And the cause of it, it's a word thrown around so much, so many times. Something you may laugh at because some perma bears have been making this argument since the 70s on why the world is going to end. And it never ended. We're all okay. Markets all-time highs. We did fine. That word is inflation. I know. Inflation. I heard it before. Oh, everybody tries to scare me about inflation. No, I never, ever tried to scare you about inflation. Ever. In 14 years I've been doing this. I said, hey, we're going to see inflation here or there, but not like, oh, whoa, you're in trouble, inflation. Oh. No. Things are very, very serious right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the data. I have. That's my job. And I'm not sure if the Fed and politicians understand what's really happening out there. What do we see? Wall Street Journal yesterday. Not enough home builders to build homes to meet demand? And yeah, we saw that during the credit crisis, but that's just one thing. And look what happened. Not enough chips being manufactured to meet demand, to where plants are closing to save costs. When have you ever, there's 25 years, when have you ever seen plants close? You got Ford, GM, lots of plants close because demand was too great. When have you seen that? See, that's what has me, when I see things I've never seen before, you always want to compare it to, look at the history and what happened during these times and inflationary times. And I've done that. I've done a lot of homework on this. Still have to do a lot more homework on it. But when have you ever seen those conditions? And when have you seen the PlayStation 5? Have you tried to get one of those? It's incredible, PlayStation 5. Went to Best Buy. By the way, the shelves were empty. There was no inventory. I sent pictures of that on my Twitter account at Frank Curzio. You go to Best Buy. I mean, they don't have any of the new items in. Everything's on backlog. But the PlayStation 5, I said, have you ever got a PlayStation 5 available in this store? She said, no, not since Black Friday. They haven't even had them in the stores. Targets, Walmarts, none of them. Why is that? Why wouldn't you produce 10 million by now? You see the demand. Why? I don't know. Try to get an antminer from Bitmain. Good luck. The most powerful ones, that's what they use for mining crypto and figuring out the equations. This way they get Bitcoin or whatever they're mining. Or even crypto mining equipment from Taiwan Semi. Good luck. Taiwan Semi was like, nah, you know what? We're not going to go crazy this time because we got burnt already. 2017, it was, balls to the wall. We were generating $400 million just from a crypto perspective, which I think was about 10% of sales, which is amazing, in a year. And then what happens is they build inventory tremendously and the market crashed in 2018. So now, this time around, they're like, nah, we're not going to do that much. And those companies in crypto mining, man, I hope that you bought your equipment already, because good luck. I mean, that's how you generate profits in that industry, by mining. And the only way you can mine is by having cheap electricity and very, very state-of-the-art, super fast computer systems. But there's none available. You have Biden saying that, hey, we want to get into the semiconductor industry. We want to solve this supply problem. Really? You want to solve the supply problem? When has the government, any side, when have they ever done a good job running any business or any industry ever? Never. Their track record is zero. Zero. It's never happened. I mean, look at the post office. They lose $5 billion every year. Funny, because I don't see the same losses at UPS and FedEx. They run it because they have a printing press, and it doesn't matter if they lose money. You look at New York City. How is New York City in a deficit? I can see maybe now where people are living and you destroy the whole city and everything, and the politicians there. I get it, but you look at property taxes. 15, 20 grand? You look at the Verrazano toll was $19 to pass through. I mean, you're making, I looked this up, $4 million a day. It used to be you build tolls to pay for the bridge. $4 million a day. I think you paid for it already. Where's all this money go to? It's the billions and tens of billions. I mean, you notice how there's never a surplus for any state? Why is that? The more money they make, the more they're going to spend. Spend like crazy. That's their job. Always, 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 always spend. Spend more than you have. You know why? Because it makes sense from their point of view, right? They're not going to have to pay for this. It's not their money. They're not going to suffer. They're trying to increase growth and give money to everybody so they get votes. The taxpayers are going to pay for it, like they are now. Because we're going to pay much, much higher taxes going forward. I don't care if you're middle class, lower class, whatever. I don't care how much income. Everyone's taxes are getting raised. You're an idiot if you don't think that. You're an idiot if you're listening to your local politician tell you differently. They have to. Another thing that's interesting, not enough people in the workforce. And we saw that restaurant owners looking to hire. Restaurants here where I live are operating at 50%, 60% capacity. You know why? They're allowed to operate at 100% capacity. Because they can't get people to work. They actually cannot get people to work. They're starting to raise wages, but it's not working. Now you have the Fed printing money, recklessly, going nuts, absolutely insane. And I get it. Why? Because that's the playbook since 2008. And the goal was we need to inflate the markets. Backstop the banks, throw tons of money into this system. We need to inflate the markets. We bring interest rates to zero, first time ever. We're going to inflate these markets. There's not one person in the world that's an economist or anybody that didn't think we'd see inflation over the next 2-3 years. And what happened is we really didn't see that much inflation, which is hard to explain. So inflation in some things, but overall, when you take the context of everything, we weren't seeing massive inflation. So they kept rates low for like 7-8 years at historical lows. They started to raise them, but now with the pandemic, they started cutting again. But that's a playbook. And there was no risk. There was no risk. Not only that, we're going to inject money, but let's buy treasuries. Put some more money into the market. And again, print money, give checks directly to people, businesses, even banks. All that's been happening since 2008. That's the playbook. And there has been no risk to that. Is it that easy? Because if it is, why don't you just spend 20 trillion, 30 trillion, and 50 trillion? There's consequences to everything we do. And there's going to be a big consequence to this because now we're seeing it in the numbers. I don't know why it didn't lead to inflation early on, but the Fed still pedaled to the metal. Politicians pedaled to the metal. $10.5 trillion already injected to this market. $10.5 trillion, 50% of GDP, already injected into these markets. Stocks at all-time highs. Asset prices all-time highs. Economy starting to open rapidly. More and more people are getting the vaccine. Yet you want to inject another $2.3 trillion into the economy? Saying it's infrastructure? Even though, what is it, 11% is for infrastructure? Even though material companies are reporting insane profits right now that are greater today than they were pre-pandemic? Do we need the infrastructure bill? No, probably getting some votes. And what do we see what's going on today? Few people in the workforce. Why work when I'm getting a free check? This is leading to a massive, massive, massive labor shortage. You talk to any restaurant owner, the CEO in any industry. I mean, it's almost impossible to find good people these days. Even my industry. It's hard. It's not easy. I don't know if you saw David Halpern at CNBC in that interview a couple days ago. He's a CEO of Jackmont Hospitality. That's Atlanta-based food service. They have about 45 restaurants. He's looking to hire 800 workers. He can't find any. When have you seen that? He can't find any. Isn't that insane? Seriously, think back conditions when you've seen that. Where demand is so great that supply can't even come close to you closing plants. You're only operating at 50% capacity because, I mean, usually you want to open up 20 different places. You can't find labor. So what happens? How do companies make their ends meet? How do they get open up? How do they increase capacity? Only one way. Only one way. Raise prices considerably. Wages, make it up with food prices or whatever. But you have to raise prices. And you know what? It's exactly what they're doing. Listen to this earnings season. Coca-Cola raising prices, first time since 2018. Netflix, numbers were great. They didn't meet their expectations, right? How would they? I mean, 8 million subscribers, during the pandemic, which is insane. They added 8 million, and they were expecting whatever, 3.5, 4. It came in at 1, and a little bit more than 1 million, and people went crazy. But did you see the actual numbers? I mean, earnings blew it out of the water. Why? Because they're raising prices. The average revenue per user went up. Disney announced they're raising prices. They can afford to, since they're paying $2 for every subscriber internationally. It's $14 for Netflix. I mean, Disney knows a playbook. Nobody cares about numbers. Nobody cares about profits. They're not going to get to pre-pandemic levels, which almost all these companies are already, for another 2-3 years. They sacrifice that. They just like, hey, people just want to see us get names on our list. Let's give this thing away for free, whatever. I got it for free. I'm a Verizon customer. I have it free for life. Isn't that insane? I have it free for life. Why? Because they can't show a decline in numbers, because then they're really dead. Because now you have no numbers. You're not seeing subscriber growth for Disney. And now you don't have the revenues there. You don't have the earnings there. You're still getting killed in most of your businesses. Procter & Gamble on its call. $200 million in additional freight costs. $200 million. They're raising price September, they said. Owens Corning, Hilton, almost every other hotel company, Genuine Auto Parts, almost every chip company, every drug company's raising prices on their products across the board. Every food company's raising prices. Hey, Dallas Fed, they have a manufacturing survey, and this is on Monday, showed almost 80% of factory respondents said supply chain disruptions have led to higher input costs. No kidding, we know that. But close to 50% said they're raising selling prices as a result. That number is going to be more like 75, 80%. You have to raise prices. I mean, look at commodities. Are you paying attention? I mean, how much oil has gone up? We've seen massive demand. Oh, but oil has gone up considerably. Look at lumber. Look at copper. Look at corn. Look at food. Look at tuition, your electricity bill, your phone bill, water bill. I mean, it's not just, hey, you're used to that increase every year. No, it's a lot more than that now. Go to your favorite restaurant. Order something that you ordered a year ago. I can guarantee that same order was at least 15% less than a year ago, and it's probably a much smaller portion. I can almost guarantee it. They have to do that. What does that mean? Inflation is here, guys. It's here. It's now. I don't think the Fed sees it or knows it. I don't think they have an effing clue. I mean, our politicians definitely don't know it or even care, right? Again, their job is just spend as much money and get votes and try to make as many people happy. And most of that money they print goes directly to them or the groups they represent, or it was lobbied for them. I mean, that infrastructure bill, again, what is it, 11% is dedicated to infrastructure? Give me a break. Politicians? No, they have no freaking clue. No clue at all. They're all lawyers. They don't know about the economy. They don't know about stocks. They don't know about... None of them do. But I said earlier, the writing is on the wall. And why is nobody really seeing it? Because nobody knows what inflation actually is. When's the last time we had it? I mean, people don't realize that is the biggest risk to the markets by far. We just never had it. Yes, the Fed's goal has been to inflate the markets. Congratulations, it's here.